Huh, that's strange. With sleepy eyes, I opened my banking app and stared at the screen, unable to move for a moment. The account balance had suddenly dropped. I rubbed my eyes to confirm the amount and checked it again. Balance, $532. With trembling fingers, I opened the transaction history and saw a large withdrawal dated the previous day. Transfer to Adam Jones Real Estate Corporation, $320,000. I felt my strength leaving my body. Adam Jones Real Estate, it's the company run by my uncle, my mother's younger brother. The $320,000 that disappeared from my account was the only inheritance my grandfather had left me. And that large sum had been stolen by my own family. Just 12 hours after the Thanksgiving party. My name is Grace Brown. I'm 28 years old and work as an art director at an advertising agency in New York. When my grandfather passed away a year ago, he left me $320,000 in his will. My mother's family had been running a hotel in Texas for many generations. But my mother chose not to take over the family business and married my father, a company employee, and moved to New York. My grandfather respected her decision, but he showed special affection toward me, his granddaughter. Since I was a child, I loved drawing, and my grandfather always supported me, saying, "Grace, your art is special." When I majored in art in college and entered the advertising industry, he was prouder of me than anyone else. I still vividly remember my grandfather's final words. "Grace, I want you to walk your own path, separate from the hotel business. When the time comes and you want to open your own shop, use this. I know you'll create something amazing." My grandfather knew about my dream. The dream of going independent and opening my own design studio one day. To support that dream, he left me part of his savings. However, my Uncle Adam fiercely opposed the will. He argued that, as the one who inherited the family business, he was the rightful heir to my grandfather's fortune. He questioned the validity of the will. Still, because it was legally valid, the inheritance was eventually divided as written. On the surface, Uncle Adam pretended to accept it, but deep down, it seemed he was burning with resentment. Then yesterday, taking advantage of the Thanksgiving holiday, the whole family gathered at our family home in Texas. Uncle Adam said he was hosting a party for reconciliation at his home next to the hotel. My mother persuaded me to come, saying it was a valuable opportunity to rebuild family bonds. The party appeared to be peaceful at first glance. My mother's sisters and their families were there, and we laughed over old memories with cousins we hadn't seen in years. Uncle Adam greeted me with a big smile and suggested we put our differences behind us. "Grace, we had our disagreements about Grandpa, but that's in the past. Let's move forward as a family." At the time, I took his words at face value. I truly wanted to believe in the possibility of reconciliation, so I began to open my heart. During the party, I passed Aunt Judy in the hallway. She looked oddly nervous and said in a whisper, "Grace, I need to talk to you later." But that moment never came. Later during the party, Uncle Adam called me over to a corner of the living room. "Grace, I want to show you something." He pulled out his smartphone and showed me the screen. Displayed there was what appeared to be leaked bank account information from my computer. "You haven't touched Grandpa's inheritance yet, have you?" he said in a gentle tone. "Yes, I've been saving it for the future," I replied honestly. "I see. But Grace, that money should have been invested in the hotel." His tone changed. "That's what Grandpa truly wanted." But Grandpa told me. Grandpa's dementia had progressed toward the end, Uncle Adam said firmly. That will wasn't his true intention. What he really wanted was to preserve the family hotel that has lasted for generations. I was at a loss for words. My grandfather had stayed sharp until the very end. Even the doctor testified that there were no issues with his judgment when the will was created. And yet, the confident look on my uncle's face made me hesitate for just a moment. "Make the right choice for your family," he said, placing a hand on my shoulder. "That money will be used to renovate the hotel. Once that's done, you should come back to the family business. Your job in New York, it's only temporary, isn't it?" "I have a dream." "Grandpa supported it," I said. "That's a naive thought," he replied, his expression hardening. "Face reality. Would you really risk a 150-year-old family legacy for your personal dream?" As I tried to respond, he continued, "If you won't cooperate, it might affect your parents, especially your mother." It was an unmistakable threat. For the rest of the party, I forced a smile, but inside I was in turmoil. Was my mother involved in my uncle's plan? Or was she a victim too? Late at night, just before I left the hotel to return to New York, my mother called out to me. "Grace, how did the talk with Adam go?" My mother's face was clouded with worry. "I haven't decided anything." I told him I needed time to think. "I see." My mother looked slightly relieved. "You know, your uncle has been struggling with the hotel lately. The maintenance costs of that old building are getting out of hand." "Mom, that still doesn't mean it's okay to use my money without permission." "Of course not. But we're family. Isn't helping each other just what family does?" Those words hinted that my mother might also have been part of the plan. With a heavy sense of unease, I returned to New York. And this morning, the worst-case scenario became reality. The money in my account was gone. With trembling hands, I called my mother. "Mom, the money's gone from my account, all $320,000. It was transferred to Uncle's company." There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. "Grace, calm down," my mother said in a small voice, filled with guilt. "Adam says it's for your future. If the inn goes under, the entire family will be out on the street." "Mom, that's fraud. It's theft. How did he even get access to my account?" "Your laptop. While we were helping prepare for Thanksgiving, Adam found something. He said there was a note with your password." A wave of unspeakable anger and sorrow swept over me. It was true, I had left a password memo on the laptop I kept at the family home. I never imagined my own family would steal from me. "I'm going to report this to the police." "Grace, wait. Don't air our family's shame to outsiders. We can solve this by talking." "Talk? Mom, this is a clear crime. Uncle stole the money Grandpa left for me." "But Grace, one day you'll take over the hotel too, won't you?" "What are you talking about?" "Me, take over the hotel. We've never even discussed that. But, eventually. Mom, I have my own life. I have my own dream." Grandpa respected that. So why is it that my own family? My voice caught in my throat. The pain of betrayal was beginning to outweigh my anger. "Grace, please. Think about the family." "Family? A real family would never do something like this." I hung up the phone and immediately contacted the bank and the police. Fortunately, the bank agreed to treat it as unauthorized transfer and began investigating. However, since it involved a family dispute, they warned that resolution might take time. I called my workplace and informed them I needed to take emergency leave. Then I headed to a law firm. While waiting in the reception area for my turn, calls from my mother kept coming in, but I couldn't bring myself to answer. Instead, memories of my grandfather came flooding back. He was a gentle and wise man. Though he dedicated his life to running the hotel, he always respected the individuality of each family member. When my mother decided not to inherit the business and move to New York, Grandpa had said, "Having the courage to follow your own path is something to be proud of," and supported her. He used to tell me often, "The most important thing in life is to live honestly with yourself." With those words in my heart, I had continued to chase my dream. And now, the time had come to fight for that dream. The meeting with the lawyer was tougher than I expected. Mizu Brown, the facts are clear, but since this is a family matter, things can get complicated, the lawyer explained calmly. Especially because you left a password memo on your computer, it could be interpreted as giving implied consent. But that's not true. I never imagined they would steal from me. Of course. Still, in a legal battle, emotional points don't carry weight. The details of what happened will be key. During the consultation, I received a call from my uncle. Following the lawyer's advice, I put the call on speaker and began recording the conversation. "Grace, think this through calmly," Uncle Adam said, his voice laced with urgency. "The hotel is in a critical state. If things go on like this, it'll collapse. It's only natural for the family's inheritance to be used to save the family business. You think it's natural to steal money from my account? I didn't steal it. I just borrowed it temporarily. Once the hotel stabilizes, I'll pay it back. There's no way I can believe that. I've already spoken to the police and a lawyer. They're treating it as unauthorized transfer." His breathing grew heavier on the other end of the line. "The police? Are you serious? You're going to expose our family's shame to the world? The real shame is stealing from your own family. Listen, Grace. If you take this to the police, your mother will suffer too. You won't be able to come back home. Are you ready to be ostracized by the entire family? Threats won't work. Return the money Grandpa left for me. Grandfather was delusional in the end. That will is invalid. All the medical documentation and legal procedures were completed without any issue. Grandpa was lucid until the very end. If that's how you want to play it." Uncle Adam's voice dropped even lower. "There's evidence that Grandpa showed signs of dementia in his final years. I'll make it public." At those words, my lawyer furrowed his brows. It was a clear threat. "Evidence? What kind of evidence do you think you have?" "Grandpa's journal. During his last year, he wrote confusing entries. If I release them, his reputation will be damaged." I was speechless. He was now threatening to tarnish Grandpa's name. "We are recording this call," my lawyer said calmly. That last statement could be considered criminal intimidation. I heard Uncle Adam gasp on the other end. "Who are you?" "I'm Mizu Brown's attorney. If you continue this conversation, everything will be recorded as evidence." Uncle Adam fell silent for a moment, then muttered, "Grace, you've betrayed your family," and hung up. My lawyer stopped the recording with a satisfied nod. "This will be strong evidence. We now have proof of both theft and intimidation. What should I do?" "We'll file a formal criminal report with the police. At the same time, we'll request the cancellation of the unauthorized transfer with the bank." With this recording, we're in a very strong position. As I left the office, I saw more missed calls from my mother. After a long sigh, I finally picked up. "Grace, why would you go to the police?" My mother's voice was on the verge of tears. "Because I've made up my mind. This is a crime." "Why did you take part in stealing my money?" "I didn't take part in it." Her voice cracked. "Adam just said he wanted to use it temporarily to rebuild the inn." "Mom, you trust him too much. He even threatened me. He said he'd damage Grandpa's reputation." "Huh." My mother's voice froze. "What do you mean?" I told her in detail about the phone call with Uncle Adam. I explained how he had even threatened to use Grandpa's journal to falsely claim he had dementia. "No way. Adam did that?" My mother's voice trembled. "I can't believe he would go that far." "Mom, this is no longer something that can be handled within the family. We have to leave it to the police and the lawyer." "But the family's shame. The one who's bringing shame is Uncle Adam, not us." On the other end of the line, I heard my mother let out a deep sigh. "All right, Grace, I'll be on your side. I'll testify whatever you need." Her words lifted a weight from my heart. At least, Not everyone in the family had turned against me. That evening, I filed a criminal report at the police station. Explaining everything in detail and submitting the evidence took far longer than I expected. It was past 10 p.m. By the time I got home, exhausted, I collapsed onto the couch. Just then, my phone rang. The name on the screen read Judy, my mother's younger sister, who was also involved in managing the hotel. After a moment of hesitation, I answered. What I heard next took me by surprise. "Grace, I'm on your side." Aunt Judy's voice was filled with determination. "Adam's actions are unforgivable. I'll testify too." "Aunt Judy, but what about the hotel? That hotel has lasted 150 years. That's exactly why we shouldn't protect it through dishonest means." She hesitated slightly, then continued. "There's something important I need to tell you. The hotel isn't actually in a critical state. Adam is exaggerating the situation." "What? What do you mean?" "Adam has personal debts. He lost a huge amount of money through gambling. And on top of that, he put his own house up as collateral." "Collateral?" "He used his home under his own name as security for a bank loan. If he falls behind on payments, he'll lose the house. That's why he's so desperate." With those words, everything started to fall into place. Uncle Adam's panic, his relentless demands for money, and even his threats. He was truly cornered. Why would he do something like that? At first, he tried to grow his money through stock investments. But he kept failing. Then he got addicted to casinos, trying to win it back. Aunt Judy's voice was filled with sorrow. We all realized it too late. His debt grew and the repayment deadline is approaching. That's why he set his sights on your inheritance to escape that crisis. Does everyone know? I only found out recently. When I checked the books, I found some suspicious withdrawals. When I confronted Adam, he confessed everything. If he doesn't pay by the end of this month, his house will be auctioned off. So that's why he used my inheritance. Yes, he planned to repay his debt and save his house using your inheritance. What he said about the hotel lacking funds was a lie. In fact, it looks like he even dipped into the hotel's funds. After the call, I sat in stunned silence. My uncle had taken my inheritance to recover money he had lost through gambling, all to protect his own home. The next day, I received a call from the bank. They confirmed that the freeze for the unauthorized transfer had been completed. Now Uncle Adam could no longer use the money. It would take time to recover the money, but at least the worst had been avoided. That same afternoon, my lawyer delivered some serious news. "Mizu Brown, further investigation has revealed something even more serious," he said with a solemn expression. "Under the name Adam Jones Real Estate, your uncle has already taken out another loan from a different bank. The collateral is his personal residence." I heard that from my aunt. "The problem is, that house is now on the verge of being auctioned. He stole your money to repay that loan. What can I do? Legally, your position is clear. You're the victim." However, the lawyer chose his words carefully. There might be another way to resolve this. Another way? If your money is successfully recovered, how you choose to use it is entirely up to you. If you wish, you could acquire the mortgage on your uncle's house yourself. What does that mean? In other words, you could pay off his debt to the bank and take his house as collateral in return. He wouldn't lose his home, but he would now owe the debt to you instead. I would take his house as collateral? Yes, with the bank's approval, it is fully legal. However, this should be approached not as an emotional decision, but as a calm business judgment. The proposal was unexpected. Just a few days ago, I never imagined a situation where I would hold the mortgage on my uncle's house. "Let me think about it," I replied. That night, I spent a long time thinking. As a designer, I tend to value logic over emotion. If I looked at the situation emotionally, my desire to punish my uncle would be strong. But when I thought rationally, another path came into view. The next morning, I called my lawyer, having made up my mind. Please proceed with the process to obtain the mortgage on my uncle's house. Are you sure? This is a matter involving complex family emotions. Yes, this is not an emotional decision. I'm treating it as a business matter. With the approval of the bank and all involved parties, the process moved forward quickly. Using funds I had in another bank, I paid off my uncle's debt. As a result, the mortgage on his house became mine, and going forward, my uncle would repay that debt to me. A few days later, I got a call from my family. It was from my father. "Grace, can you come home now?" There was an unusual tension in his voice. "There's a family meeting. Everyone is gathering. Right now? It takes several hours by plane from New York to Texas. Tomorrow is fine. It's important." On the flight to Texas the next day, I considered many possibilities. An apology from Uncle Adam? A proposal for reconciliation? Or more conflict? When I arrived at the family home, I found more relatives gathered than I had expected. My grandfather's brother's children, my great-uncles and great-aunts, their spouses, and my cousins were all there. And at the center of the room sat not Uncle Adam, but my great-uncle Clark, my grandfather's younger brother. "Grace, thank you for coming," Great-Uncle Clark said sincerely. "On behalf of the family, I offer my sincerest apology." Surprised, I looked around. Everyone looked solemn in agreement. Uncle Adam was the only one missing. "Adam's actions have brought shame upon the entire family," he continued. "He is currently being questioned by the police." He turned himself in. He turned himself in? Yes. After Judy told us the truth, the whole family confronted him. At first, he denied everything, but once we presented the evidence, he finally gave in. He continued with a bitter expression. "Adam lost a large amount of money through gambling and was drowning in debt. It seems he even used the hotel's funds. To cover it up, he targeted your inheritance." My mother, holding back tears, took my hand. "Grace, I'm truly sorry. I trusted Adam too much. Mom, I believed everything he said and tried to convince you. But I never imagined he would actually steal from your account. And I didn't know anything about the house either." Aunt Judy stepped forward. "Grace, I heard that you acquired the mortgage on Adam's house," she said solemnly. "As a family, it's embarrassing, but in a way, it might be the best outcome." "What do you mean?" "Adam will have to face his mistakes. And he'll carry the responsibility of repaying you every month," Uncle Clark continued. "On top of that, there's something the family has decided in this meeting." He looked me straight in the eyes. "First, we as a family will guarantee the full return of your money. If Adam cannot repay it, we will cover the rest." "That's..." And my father said, "We've decided to honor your grandfather's wishes by supporting your future plans as a family." I was speechless. This was a turn of events I had never imagined. "What do you mean?" "The hotel is certainly a family treasure," Clark explained. "But if we protect it through wrongdoing, your grandfather will never find peace. So, as a family, we've decided to renovate part of the hotel into an art gallery. Grace, we want you to lead its planning and management." "A gallery?" "Yes. If you establish your design studio inside the hotel, your dream can come true, and the hotel will gain a new attraction. It's a win-win, don't you think?" The proposal was surprisingly appealing. I secured approval to continue my career in New York. I would travel between New York and Texas, take charge of the gallery project at the hotel, and possibly open my own independent design studio in the future. "Your grandfather always used to say this," my father said quietly. "Tradition isn't just something to preserve. It's something to evolve." Those words filled my heart with warmth. Grandpa's wisdom and love were still guiding this family, even now. "Let me think about it," I answered honestly. "But I'll consider it seriously." After the family meeting, I went alone to sit in front of my grandfather's portrait. In the photo, he wore the same gentle smile as always. "Grandpa, are you watching?" I whispered. "It was tough, but I think it's going to be okay." As I sat there, snow began to fall quietly outside the window. The first snow of the season, marking the arrival of winter. Grace. I turned to see my mother standing there. Tears shimmered in her eyes. "Your grandfather believed in your talent more than anyone," she said softly. "That's why he left the inheritance to you. We, your parents, should have believed in you more, too. Mom, things will be different from now on. We'll all support your dream as a family." That's what your grandfather truly wanted. 1 week later, Uncle Adam was granted provisional release. The charges had not been dropped, but the prosecutor allowed a temporary release of custody. He was to attend another family meeting. When Uncle Adam walked into the tense room, he looked nothing like he had a week earlier. The confident expression he once wore was gone, replaced by exhaustion and deep regret. "Grace, everyone." Uncle Adam couldn't lift his head. "I've done something unforgivable." His voice trembled. There was not a trace of the authority he once carried. "Adam, start by explaining what happened," Uncle Clark said firmly. Uncle Adam raised his head and looked around at all of us, including me. "I started gambling and ended up with a huge amount of debt. At first, I only lost a bit on stocks, but I tried to make up for it." He trailed off. "Eventually, I even began using the hotel's funds. I put up my house as collateral for the debt. And then you set your sights on Grace's inheritance," my father said coldly. "Yes, the repayment deadline was approaching. If I lost the house, it would have affected my wife and kids too. Out of desperation, I stole Grace's account information and made the transfer." His face turned pale. "I know it's no excuse, but I was truly cornered. You're aware that Grace now holds the mortgage on your house, aren't you?" Aunt Judy said. Uncle Adam looked up in surprise. "Grace does?" "Yes. Grace covered the portion of the loan you couldn't repay to the bank. She now holds the mortgage on your house. That means from now on you'll be repaying her." Uncle Adam stared at me in disbelief. "Why?" I answered quietly. "I didn't want your family to end up homeless. And Grandpa always valued family bonds. But this isn't charity. You'll be held accountable. Not just through monthly repayments," Uncle Clark added. "You'll also be helping with the hotel renovation project to bring Grace's gallery proposal to life." Uncle Adam nodded silently. He seemed to understand he had no room to argue or refuse. "And you'll be receiving treatment for your gambling addiction as well," Aunt Judy added. "I understand." Uncle Adam's voice was barely audible. Then he turned toward me and apologized sincerely. "Grace, I'm truly sorry. I will repay everything. And I will honor Grandpa's wishes." I nodded quietly. The anger hadn't fully gone away, but I understood that moving forward was more important than seeking revenge. After the family meeting, my parents and I took a walk in the hotel garden. The snow had stopped, and a white cap rested atop a stone lantern. "Grace, are you really okay with this?" my mother asked, looking worried. "About forgiving Adam. I haven't forgiven him. I just made a decision about what to do next." My father nodded. "Grace is like her grandfather. She doesn't make decisions based on emotion." "And," I said, gazing at the old hotel building beyond the garden, "the gallery project is also my own dream. While continuing my work in New York, I can start something new here. I believe that's what Grandpa would have wanted. With your design sense, the inn could attract a whole new kind of guest," my mother said. Not just tourists, but art lovers as well. Exactly. That's the goal. To preserve tradition while creating new value. As we walked through the snowy landscape, we talked about the future of the hotel.